So Apple versus Samsung, iOS versus Android, it's a classic debate we've been seeing for so long. And with the premium phones, people tend to have their minds set already and the debates get pretty heated. But where it really gets interesting is in the mid-range phones. If you're looking to spend $400, you just want a great phone that works, but you don't want to spend $1,000 on a premium phone. Which one do you buy? Do you buy the iPhone SE 2020 that just came out? Or do you buy the Samsung Galaxy A71? These are fundamentally different approaches to what a mid-range phone should be, and in this video I'll break down the differences to help you decide which one's actually the best one for you to buy. And I want to start off by saying, even though a lot of people get very heated over this, I use both Apple and Android. There's a time and place for either of them, and the goal of this video is not to convince you that Apple is better than Android or Android's better than Apple. It's really just to help you figure out what the differences are so you can decide for yourself which one's actually the best one for you. And so I want to start off with a physical comparison of these two devices. Starting with the back, you'll see that the Galaxy A71 is significantly larger of a phone, and the camera setup is also very different. But remember, camera quantity and megapixel count does not necessarily correlate to better photos. We'll do a photo test later on in the video. But you see you have one lens on the back of the iPhone SE right here, you have wireless charging, you have three different colors, you've got red, black, and white. All three of them have black on the front for those bezels, whereas the Galaxy A71 here has four different colors. We have a black one, as you can see right here, which tends to catch quite a few different colors in the light. It also attracts quite a few fingerprints as well. This also has a silver version, a black, this is the black one, and then we also have a blue and a pink version as well. And this one has four cameras on the back, although you will only be using three of them to actually take photos. The fourth one is a depth sensing camera, and the three that we have are an ultra wide angle, which is 123 degrees. It's 12 megapixels. Then we have a 64 megapixel primary shooter, which is very, very high resolution in a phone. And then we have the 5 megapixel macro camera, which honestly, if you've seen my previous video, is not especially useful. And I wouldn't really count that as a big win unless you're trying to sell like tiny items on eBay, for example. Now on the iPhone here, not only do we have a home button on the bottom, which is a fingerprint sensor as well, and I'll talk about that in a second, but on the right side we have our power button, and on the left side we have our volume rocker, or a volume buttons. They're two separate buttons here, not a rocker. And I like this setup better because you can actually take a screenshot much more easily by just squeezing the phone just like that. So you can take your screenshots, and above that we have the classic little iPhone switch to switch your phone onto silent mode or out of silent mode if you suddenly need your phone to be quiet. On the bottom of these phones, you'll see a fundamental difference here is not only the charging port, so we have the lightning port on the iPhone, USB Type-C on the Android phone right here, but the Galaxy also has a headphone jack, which is a big win if you're looking to have headphones plugged into your phone and you don't want to have a dongle associated. On the top of these phones, we have really no difference, a microphone on the Galaxy phone, and they both have microphones on the bottom. And like I said, we have the home button on the iPhone right here, which allows you to sign in. It's a fingerprint sensor home button. And on the Galaxy, there's actually an in-screen fingerprint sensor. So if you just put your finger right there, it signs in. From my experience, it's not necessarily the best sign-in experience. It's not the fastest or the most accurate, but it definitely gets the job done. So if I just place my finger there, you see, maybe not the first try, but once you get used to it, you sign in fairly quickly, and it's really not a drawback at all. On the front, you'll see that they do have a completely different setup with screen. So on the Galaxy right here, we have a 6.7-inch screen. It's a 1080p display, and it's very, very bright in bright settings, of course, and it's very vibrant as well. So definitely an excellent screen right here, whereas the iPhone is still using the iPhone 8 design. So they do have very large bezels on the top and bottom. The screen is only 750p, and it's significantly smaller, as you can see here. So as far as screens go, I think it's very obvious that the Galaxy has a better screen between the two. I don't really think there's much of a debate there, but it is definitely nice that you have the better fingerprint sensor on the iPhone, and you also have the little switch on the side. So three big mechanical advantages to using the iPhone. A big benefit to the Galaxy A71 here is on the left side, you have a SIM tray, which actually doubles as a dual SIM tray and expandable storage. So you can put a micro SD card in here. The iPhone does not have expandable storage, and it does have dual SIM, but one SIM is an eSIM. For some people, you may want a smaller phone, and this would actually be really nice to have this. For other people, you definitely want the larger screen and the better screen to body ratio. So comment down below and let me know which of these two you like better from the physical aspect of them first of all. Two big physical advantages that the iPhone SE has. One of them is that it does have wireless charging, so I really like to see that. I know some people don't think this is especially useful, but I personally find it useful. If you have like a car mount, you just put it in there, you don't have to plug it in, set it on your desk, it charges, you can pick it up and use your phone and set it back down while it's charging. I think that is really nice to have, and it's something you don't see on the Galaxy A71. And another big advantage is that the iPhone SE is actually IP67 water resistant, where the Galaxy A71 has no IP water resistance rating. So from that physical tour, I'm sure a lot of people would be leaning towards the Galaxy A71 here, being that it has a larger screen and more cameras. And again, I'll get into the camera test in a second. But where the iPhone really starts to catch up and gain a lot of ground is in the internal components of this phone. So the iPhone right here has 3 different storage options. You can get 64 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes, or you can get 256 gigabytes. And the processor in here, the chipset, is actually the A13 Bionic chip. And for those of you who don't know a ton about chipsets and internals of a phone, the A13 is the fastest out of any phone on the market today. So it's the same chip we're seeing in the iPhone 11 Pro. It's faster than any of the older iPhones. It's faster than essentially any Android phone. And they're putting it down in this phone right here, which is really unheard of. And I know a lot of people using this phone are not going to be doing anything really advanced. You're not going to be rendering huge videos. You're not going to be playing, maybe you would be playing, but I think a lot of people won't be playing games as much on this phone because it's a smaller screen. So having the A13 chip essentially equates to this phone lasting probably 5 to 6 years with constant Apple support. You'll be continuing to get updates, and for that price right there, getting a $400 phone that lasts 5 or 6 years is really impressive. Now the Galaxy A71 is by no means underpowered. It has a Snapdragon 730 processor in there, which is not the biggest or the beefiest on the market, but it still gets the job done for here. It's very snappy and very quick. Having 128 gigabytes on the base model does give you more storage than the iPhone for $400. You would spend a little bit of extra, a little extra to get 128 or 256 on that. But you do also have iCloud as well versus Google Cloud here, so a lot of people use cloud storage anyway. As far as RAM goes, the iPhone has about 3 gigabytes of RAM. iOS uses RAM differently, and so on Android phones, we typically see more RAM. This one has either 6 or 8 gigabytes, which for most people should be pretty sufficient. Now, these both accept fast charging, although it is slightly different fast charging. So 15 watts on the iPhone SE and 25 watts with the larger Galaxy A71. I think that kind of is a little bit to scale though, considering the battery size in the Galaxy A71 is 4,500 milliamp hours, and the battery on the iPhone SE is somewhere around 2,000 milliamp hours. So considering that, the charging time should be very similar with both of these, but one drawback is that the iPhone SE in the box does not come with a fast charger, so you have to go out and buy one. It's only probably, $15, $20 or something, depending on where you're looking for your charger. But it is nice that it is included with the Galaxy A71. You have a 25 watt charger in the box to charge this up. And being that it's such a large battery, significantly larger than the iPhone battery, but also a significantly larger screen, I did find that this does last slightly longer when looking at them side to side in daily use. It's hard to compare one-to-one because they're running different apps, you're using them different amounts, but in general, I would say that the battery life on the A71 is going to be slightly longer and should definitely easily get you through an entire day with really no problems at all. Now, getting into the cameras of these phones, starting off with low light, it's kind of a fundamental difference we're seeing here. The iPhone SE does not have a night mode, so in darker settings, it does have a little bit more grain in the photos. You can get a third-party app I talked about in a previous video to give you night mode shots, but the Galaxy A71 comes with night mode baked in, so you can take those nice night photos. They're still not quite at the same level as the iPhone 11 Pro or the Pixel or the Galaxy S20, but for a mid-range phone, it does a decent job. All right, now let's do a quick sign-in speed test. So I'm just gonna turn on the screen right here, and then I'm just gonna press on the home button. So ready, press it, and it signs in really right away. So if you just press it, you can see this one does an excellent job of signing in. Now with the Galaxy, if we just go and tap my thumb right there, again, it signs in fairly quickly, probably not as fast. And occasionally, yeah, you can see right there, sometimes you do miss it and it takes a couple attempts. So right there, we got it. For sign-in, the iPhone is definitely superior, but now let's check out the app speed, open up apps and see how fast that is, just to get a general idea of the processor. So first, let's go and close all the apps that are open, just to make sure we have a fair test here. And now we're going to open up Spotify in 3, 2, 1. It's significantly faster on the iPhone right here. Some apps may not be like that, so ones that are baked into Google, so YouTube for example, probably opens a little faster on Android, but let's check that out. So you can see it opens faster on the iPhone right here, but it loads fairly quickly on the Android right here. Okay, so starting off with the iPhone. And now with the Galaxy. Alright, so this is the selfie camera on the Galaxy A71. It's pretty stable. I think it looks pretty good. Let's see how it sounds as well. Comment your thoughts on this one. Now let's jump over to the iPhone. So here's the selfie camera on the iPhone. The background looks pretty washed out, so not the same high dynamic range, but the video should look and sound pretty good. Comment and let me know what you guys think of this one. Now this is the rear camera on the iPhone shooting in 4K. The colors look really good, the focus looks good, and it's pretty stable as well. So as I walk around, it still looks pretty good. So let me know what you guys think of this one. Now the Galaxy A71, the colors look a little more vibrant with this video, also pretty stable. So let me know how you think these two compare. I think this is definitely going to be hard to beat as well. They both have great video cameras. And of course the Galaxy A71 can also shoot video with the wide angle lens, or the ultra wide rather. And this is going to be a little bit more stable, but it doesn't look quite as good as the standard lens on this phone. So starting with the selfie camera on the iPhone, it's a pretty classic iPhone photo here. The blacks are a little more gray, it's not super saturated. And then the Galaxy is the total opposite, very saturated and very dark blacks. The live focus mode on the selfie camera did an okay job here. It looks similar to what we expected. Same thing with the iPhone. It just blurs everything that's not you, and it does a decent job but struggles with the headphones. The rear camera on the iPhone does a decent job with skin tones. I think they look pretty natural, whereas on the ultra wide of the Galaxy, it tends to look a little bit more reddish. And then the primary rear camera on the Galaxy, I think, looks the best of all of these. Definitely the darkest blacks, and a pretty good high dynamic range on this one as well. Then going to the live focus mode, because we have a depth camera here, you're able to see that the bench behind me is actually not blurred because it knows it's the same distance as me. So same plane, looks really good. Now the iPhone blurs pretty much everything, including the bench, and does a pretty good job with edge detection. Now looking at the iPhone's rear camera at this bush right here, pretty good, solid picture, but definitely way more saturated, probably over a little bit too saturated on the Galaxy phone. The ultra wide again looks a little bit different, a little bit less saturated than the primary shooter, but the primary shooter does have a 64 megapixel mode, which allows you to crop in after the fact and still capture a lot of detail, and significantly more detail, I think, than you would see in the iPhone when you zoom in through digital zoom, as you can see in this picture. Now using the macro lens, I think it's relatively useless because it's only 5 megapixels, but it does an okay job, and the iPhone SE camera, as you can see here, is unable to take macro shots at that level. As far as software goes, Apple and Android by now are really not as different as they used to be. So if you're looking to use FaceTime, you have Google Duo on Android. If you're looking for iMessage, you have Google Messages on Android that has RCS. It does really the same thing. A lot of the capabilities on both of these are very similar, with the exception of maybe like AirDrop, for example. But it depends on what a lot of your friends have. If a lot of people are using FaceTime and iMessage, maybe it'd be good to be in that ecosystem. But if not a lot of friends are doing that, I mean, I think that you do have a lot more freedom to customize your phone with Android right here. You can have live wallpapers, you can have all kinds of stuff like that. So it comes down to personal preference. This video is not necessarily going to be about Apple versus Android. That's an entire different video, and it's always changing with new updates. But comment down below and let me know which operating system you like better, and if that actually lines up with which phone you like better. So if you like the Galaxy A71 better, but do you like iOS better? I just want to hear from you guys which one you actually like better. But in conclusion here, guys, I think if I was going to break it down into who would want which phone, I think for the iPhone, the obvious answer is anybody looking for it's a classic Apple phone. So you're looking for a phone that just works. It's going to work really well. It's going to be very fast. It's never going to slow down. For 5 or 6 years, you can use it. Cameras, you don't have to think about which lens to use. You just turn it on, take a photo. It's going to look good. And it is a smaller, more pocket-friendly phone. But of course, it's looking a lot more antiquated on the outside. You have really large bezels, which brings you over to anybody who's looking for a newer Android phone that doesn't cost a ton, but you can still customize it, has a really large screen, so you can watch a lot of videos on here, has a lot of cameras. You can take tons of different, like totally different styles of photos. and has a very long battery life. I think that this is an obvious choice here. So between the two guys, let me know which one you like best. For me personally, I think it would really change based on the day. I think sometimes you just want to have a phone that just works. Other times you want a phone that you can really customize. So comment down below and let me know which one you like better and why. As always, guys, thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.